So, Mark, here we are, a standalone episode. The A's are being absolutely nuts in Las Vegas. We have so much to discuss.
Yeah, they need like Brad Pitt to come in and save them, Moneyball it up. I don't. Maybe Moneyball's the problem that they're trying to be too cheap on everything. I don't know. This is just bizarre. I've never seen anything like this for sports. It's crazy.
All right, so Mark, I'm in Japan, and we already pre-recorded an episode that was supposed to come out today, but we figured it would be kind of weird for us not to talk about this, so we scheduled this emergency recording session to talk about the A's. So just as a reminder,
Wait. You know what I'm really think people is gonna blow people's mind when we're wearing the same outfit last week, and then next week when it was supposed to be two in a row, everybody's gonna be confused by that. It's gonna be kind of funny.
Hey, thankfully none of that was time sensitive, so a lot of really cool stuff coming on the next show, which it was supposed to be today's show. But just a reminder, a few weeks ago, the A's sort of railroaded Las Vegas and said, we have this deal for the old Wild Wild West site. They made the deal with Red Rock Resorts, a Station Casino's parent company, and the Fertitas. And this was going to be a blockbuster thing on Tropicana. They were going to build a bridge over to T-Mobile Arena. They said the deal was done. And they tried to force us into $500 million in public financing, which were basically tax rebates to pay off the bond for the stadium. They said they're going to build a $1.5 billion partially retractable roof stadium here. All was good, or so they thought. And then the public hasn't really been behind this whole $500 million financing thing. And, you know, we thought that they had a deal in place. Then this week earlier, we found out that they are now starting to explore other stadium sites again. So the Nevada Independent covered, I think on Monday of this week, that they were back to looking at other stadium sites, even though they have a binding agreement for the Wild Wild West site. And they even said that they were talking to the Rio owners, Dreamscape, who we know previously offered 22 acres of their land for $1 for the stadium. And then the next day it came out that they were all of a sudden going to talk to Bally's about buying the Tropicana site or building a stadium there. So let's start with this. Do the A's know anything? I mean, this seems like a episode of Benny Hill where they're just running around, scrambling around. It's insane.
You know, every time you say Wild Wild West, I want to do like the Will Smith dance. Does anybody else hear that song in their head every time Shawn says Wild Wild West? that's all I can think about.
Is it the way I say it? Is it the way I say it?
I don't know, or just maybe the Wild Wild West doesn't come up that much, and that's all I can think of. That horrible movie and that pretty horrible song. But yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's kind of all over the place, crazy. And all of this over $500 million when you have a billionaire owner and, you know, you're supposed to make that money back out of the stadium, out of the fans and everything. So just seems like they're being super cheap, which is what the A's are known for. They're kind of known as the worst run franchise in baseball, even though they usually field a pretty decent team, at least, you know, on an average basis every few years. And that's crazy with the shoestring budget that Billy Beane works with. But yeah, this is just run amok, basically. And now you can see why Oakland was probably like, see you guys, we're tired of this. You're stupid, move on.
Yeah, Oakland fans were like rejoicing, I think, when they saw just how crazy this was, basically telling people in Las Vegas, this is what you're going to get with this ownership group. So yeah, just to recap, they have their deal with Wild Wild West. Early in the week, they say, oh, we're now all of a sudden looking at new stadium sites. Then, then they say, we've made an agreement with Bally's Corporation for the site of the Tropicana. So Bally's bought Tropicana, last year, and they announced that they were going to redevelop it in some way. And it's actually, Bally's just owns the operations of Tropicana, and then the land is owned by Gaming and Leisure Properties, with Bally's renting back the building. So this is about a 33-acre site, I think, and 9 acres are going to be for this ballpark. So this is an incredibly tiny site for this.
No,
I mean, that's insane.
I've been to a lot of ballparks, you know, that's one of the things I do is I travel around and see ballparks. And I feel like one of the smaller ones or more compact ballparks is Atlanta's, which is a newer one. And they were kind of like retrofitting it to a certain space. And that was one of my complaints is it felt tight. You didn't have good sight lines because of it in certain areas. And I looked that up. That's on 15 acres. So I don't know how they plan. Maybe there is an MLB park out there that's on 9 acres, but it doesn't seem like it's possible or it's going to just be kind of horrible. And then with this whole thing with them not owning the building, not owning the land, how does this all work? You know, there's so many chefs in the kitchen. It just seems like a terrible way, and that this is going to backfire on them once again.
So yeah, the plan for the Tropicana was to redevelop in some way into Bally's. They had hinted at what they might do, and in either way, Tropicana was going away in its current form. They were either going to gut the buildings and expand it, but the name was going to go away. So for people who are really sad, people who watch this channel for a long time know I really love the Tropicana. I grew up staying there all the time. Has a very special place to me, but that property as it is never going to stay, even if this didn't happen. But Bally's said that if they do this stadium deal, that they'll also build a 1,500 room resort on the property. So imagine a baseball stadium and a 1,500 room casino resort on 34 acres on the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard. Seems like a very tight squeeze, although Mark, the location, hard to beat.
I mean, I hate all of this, the whole, everything about it pretty much, except for the views. I think it will be like the coolest backdrop, the way that they're going to face the stadium. And I don't get the slight retractable roof instead of fully retract. I don't understand the theory behind that. But the part that will retract will be looking at the strip at night. That will be kind of amazing, watching home run balls fly that way. But one thing we haven't talked about is the traffic, man. Like, we already talk about Tropicana, tunnels, and just how horrible that intersection is. And you're going to throw a baseball park on that, and that's right by the airport where a lot of cars come from the airport. The loop's not open. You don't have a monorail going to the airport. This is just kind of horrible. Is it just me? Am I just hating it?
Just a few more tunnels somewhere in there. Tunnels solve everything in Las Vegas. I'm sure they'll figure that out. I don't know. I think this is crazy. So the public financing aspect has changed as well. Now, I should point out, we do not have a single rendering of what the stadium is. I think this tells you how much effort the A's have actually put in. They're just, I don't know, scattered all over the place with this. And I think, honestly, as I said before, we shouldn't give them any money.
You know what's going to happen is they're going to spend $500 million that they want from the government, breaking all these binding bids that they go around trying to scoop up, and they're going to end up back at Rio where it's free and they should have gone in the first place.
Yeah, part of this is they said because they don't own the land, they don't have the land acquisition cost, although they haven't altered the cost of the stadium. It's still a $1.5 billion proposal. One of the things that they said to Oakland was that they wanted this whole stadium district, and that's what they said they were going to build at Wild Wild West with, entertainment and shops and everything. Well, that's no longer part of this proposal at Tropicana, although the price remains the same. Now they're saying they only need $390 million in public financing, which they should get zero. Just get zero. This is insane. And let's point out that the Tropicana is generating tax revenue currently for the local area. So if you take that property away, it's not generating that. And if they want to put it into a stadium district and get rebates, now this is actually taking tax money away. Whereas with the Wild Wild West, you could argue that there's nothing currently there and there's less of an impact. So in either way, we know that Bally's is going to redevelop Tropicana, whether they keep some of the buildings if they don't get a stadium there and then they add to it, or if they build something completely new. This is just a bad idea, and I think that the A's need to be sent back to wherever they came from. If they want to come to Las Vegas, they can pay for all of it.
Imagine if they have to walk back to Oakland and be like, please take us. I don't... It would be kind of epic. I'm almost a little bit hoping that happens. But yeah, they have the Wild Wild West site set up. They're planning on doing all this thing. And a lot of the baseball stadiums have built these districts. Like I just said, Atlanta, one of the newer stadiums, has the Battery Park District, which is a really cool area. Bars, restaurants. It's even busy non-game nights. But that's a way that they're making revenue all the time because they built out these places. They rent out the storefronts and the restaurants and all that stuff. And now you're not going to have that. So where's the extra $500 million going? Right in their pocket? I don't understand how the price is the same. A 9-acre stadium at $1.5 billion. Does it have massaging seats? I don't understand where the money goes.
Yeah, and where do they come up with what they need, right? They just throw a dart at a board, say, up 500 million, 390 million. I'd love to know what happened behind the scenes for the Wild Wild West deal to seemingly fall through after having a binding agreement there as well. Obviously, I think Red Rock Resorts can't be very happy with that, and I'm sure, like you said, there's a breakup fee, so they'll just keep more and more breakup fees and then eventually settle on somewhere. But I don't think this is great for the community. And then we talked on the last show also that there's an issue with they need the state legislature to pass some sort of law or bill to give them this financing, and they're running out of time on that. And that seemed to maybe spark all of this too, a little desperation as they saw that the community isn't as supportive of this as they thought. I think they thought that they could just say, we're coming to Las Vegas. Everybody would welcome them with open arms. We would throw whatever money they wanted. And that clearly is not happening. It's not very popular here in Las Vegas to give them money. Nobody seems to really care too much about this deal. You know, this is not the greatest baseball team in the history, although they have a long storied history. Las Vegas, you know, is a city that people should want to come to, and they need to pay for it. And I don't know. This whole thing is crazy, and it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, and I think a lot of other people in Las Vegas's mouth as well.
Yeah, everything I've read is like they were getting no backing for building it at Wild Wild West. Nobody wanted to front the 500 million. So they're like, all right, cool. We'll go to this place that doesn't have a land purchase price, and we'll knock that off the top. What is it, 395 million? So 105 million we knocked off. Oh, people are going to rejoice that we just saved them 105 million fictitious dollars. No, maybe if you dropped it down to 100 million or something like that, but not just slashing a little bit off the top. That's like going into Kmart in the jewelry section and they say, hey, our rings are 70% off. We marked them up 80% before we did that, but cool.
I also think this just shows that they don't have a plan, right? Like I said, we don't have a rendering, and they're just like all over the place because they need to get a stadium deal in place because of their timeline to relocate from Oakland. And somebody said on Twitter, and I kind of believe this, that the ownership group is just more interested in the real estate deal than they are in actually bringing the team here, in the money that they're going to make in increasing the value of this team so that they can sell it or something like that. It just doesn't seem like there's any heart behind it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they switched again to Rio or something else at this point, because why would you trust anything that they say? The one other site that potentially could have been was the Las Vegas Festival Grounds, which Phil Ruffin owns on Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. Some more information came out this week from him basically saying that there was no way the economics would work because he's making so much money from music festivals and stuff like that. So that probably will never be a site if they decide to change again. On the surface, I think the Tropicana site's interesting. I would hate to see the Tropicana go, but like I said, it's going anyway. I agree with you with traffic concerns. Those are all there as well. But having a baseball stadium on the Strip would be very interesting. You eliminate the need to cross pedestrians over the freeway. So I do see some potential benefit in this. But again, let private companies make these deals. Let them pay for it. There's enough value there, especially if the A's are getting a stadium on the Strip. Think about the value there for the team and everything else. We don't need to pay for it, and we need to, look out for ourselves first. And it doesn't seem like the A's care at all about the community. And I would not be surprised if they go back to Oakland and try to negotiate again with them.
Yeah, where does this all end up? I don't know what their current lease is in Oakland and when that ends up. But are we gonna have a year where the A's just aren't, or they're using other people's facilities for a year or two while they get this all figured out, or can they force Oakland to accept them for a couple more years? I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out, because I doubt that this is gonna get voted on before. What do they go on break at, June 5th or something? I don't see them trying to push this through. I don't know that there's enough public support that these politicians are going to go out there and be like, you know what, we're going to slam this through on June 5th. I think they're going to let it ruminate a little bit and kind of sit there and sizzle in the background and wait. But that just screws Oakland. So I don't know what the deal is. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, and Oakland almost put up that amount of public financing for the stadium too, which they said wasn't enough, which is one of the reasons they left. And they said they weren't getting a stadium district to their liking in Oakland, which is one of the reasons they left. And neither of those things are happening at the Tropicana site. So it's all a big mess. I believe their lease lasts through 2024 in Oakland, which is one of the reasons they need to have this in place. They did say that potentially they could play at the Las Vegas ballpark, which is up in Summerlin. That's our AAA ballpark, until the stadium was built. They do say that the Tropicana deal would be on the same timeline, 2027.
They still wouldn't fill it. Oakland A's are they're gonna have to call Chris Angel and get his seat fillers when this is all said and done.
The Aviators, the Las Vegas AAA team, is their AAA team of the Athletics, and there have been times where they have drawn more people to their games in Las Vegas than the A's have in Oakland. And so that does say a lot about all of this. And I don't know, I feel like the more I look at it, the more upsetting all this is. Las Vegas doesn't need that. We have a potential NBA team coming. We have other sports growing, Formula One, Super Bowl coming this year. The NFL has done really well. And I think we gave a lot more money than we needed to the Raiders to build Allegiant Stadium, but that was a venue that sort of was needed in the community, right? It's a different size venue than we had anywhere else. And you could argue that getting the biggest sport, NFL, was something a lot bigger. I don't think that Major League Baseball is that big of a deal. And I don't think they're going to draw nearly the amount of people that they're saying, even though there will be 81 games a year. There's just not enough economic potential, economic upside for Las Vegas. If they want to come, let them pay for it. I'll say it again. I know that people are going to be really upset with me, some people who love the A's, but I feel like most Las Vegans sort of feel this way.
Yeah, I think if this was an expansion team, they might be more willing to give up some money or something that's like their own homegrown. But just with the history of this owners group and the way that they've been with the A's and fought with Oakland and stuff, there's just, everything you hear is not good. So you don't really want to give money to somebody that you hear, leaving their last mistress and saying, oh, they're really bad, you probably don't want them, and oh, here's some money, take it.
I'm so upset about this. Let us know in the comments what you think about this craziness with the Athletics, and we'll be back in just a few days with another show talking about my time on the Strip. A lot of cool stuff, speakeasies, all the hidden restaurants in Las Vegas. That's coming up on the next show. But leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this A's fiasco. And we'll be back in just a few days with another show. And I'm leaving. It's morning time in Japan, nighttime for Mark. So we'll see you guys in a couple days. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
See you next week. Have a good weekend. Even though I said that on the last show, that isn't going to be for the weekend. So I remember somebody commented about that, like hoping that I mess up. So there you go. It'll be a mess up on that one.
Bye.